Hey crafty people! Welcome back to my channel, and in case you're new here, I'm Sarah, also known as Craft Nerd because I'm a nerd who loves to craft. I do paper crafting, card making, junk journaling, and mixed media art. Let's get crafting! Okay, so I'm feeling the need to make a folio because I have a ridiculous amount of 6x8 paper packs, mostly by 49 in Market and then a bunch by Minte, and I need to use them. I bought them to use them. I need to use them. They've just been sitting in my stash, so we're doing a folio today. And I did make a prototype because I like to make sure my folio ideas are gonna work. So I'm gonna give you a quick flip through of this so you can see what we're making. And I will warn you, this folio uses quite a bit of paper. It uses 4 sheets of 100-pound cover cardstock because you need a heavyweight cardstock to hold up as the base for your folio. And then about 13 or 14 sheets from a 6x8 pad, which is about half of a pad. But since my goal is to use my paper, I'm not mad at it. So let's do a quick flip through of this, and then I will tell you what you need to gather if you want to make one along with me. For the binding, I used some distress dyed seam binding, and I attached it underneath the back piece of paper so that it stays attached and can open easily. I think I may try going in and adding a little bit more ink to adjust the color a little bit. And this is a pocket here that I made from the 49 and Market packs. Have at least one page in the pack that, if you're not familiar with them, they usually have a page of ephemera. So see, it's got fussy cut bits. So this paper pack, which is Rouge, which was from a few years ago, so probably not available anymore, had one that was the entire length of the bottom, and I was like, oh, let's use that as a pocket. And the other nice thing about 49 and Market is they always put something on the cover piece and the back piece, so they're not wasting that paper. So we've got that page, then it flips open like so, and I did a pocket on this side. And then this flips out and out, so it goes out like that. And then for this one, I did a slightly different take on like a waterfall. And all I used for this is the design paper. I didn't back it with the cardstock because I figured it didn't need to be backed because this is pretty sturdy paper. So we've got that one, and this flips over and up, and that one flips up. So there we go. This is what we're gonna make. There we go. And then it goes in and over like this, and then closes like so. So that's our project for today. Now, as I said, for the base, you're gonna need 4 pieces of heavy duty cardstock. And this is from a paper pack by Cardstock Warehouse. It's the Pop Tone collection, and this is Black Licorice, and it's a 100-pound cover, and it's 8.5 by 11 sheets. And I got it off of Amazon, and it's a pretty good weight for making a folio. And I've already gone ahead and done the prep work for this, so I've got my 4 sheets, and what you need to do is just trim off 1/4 inch from the end to make it 8.25 by 11, because that way, when you put on your 8 by 6 pieces, there's just a little bit left to serve as a border showing. I didn't want a 1/2 inch worth of border around, so that's why I trimmed it down. You of course can leave it if you don't feel like doing that step. We're gonna assemble the base before I go through and tell you about the cuts for the design paper. Okay, so we're gonna do some scoring, and we're gonna do 2 pages. We're gonna score exactly the same. So I'm gonna grab my scoreboard, I'm gonna grab my stylus, and we're gonna put this one in, and we are gonna score on the 11-inch side at 6 1/4 and 6 3/4, because we're making a 1/2 inch spine on the outside of this piece. And because this is pretty thick, to help it along, I'm gonna just flip it over and score on the back as well, just to make sure we've got good scores. All right, So we're gonna do 2 like that. So again, we're scoring at 6 1/4, 6 3/4 on the 11-inch side. Now on our next 8 1/4 by 11 piece, we're gonna score at 6 and 6 1/8, because one of our inner spines, I just did an 1/8 of an inch spine, just to give a little extra room for adding bulk to it. So we've got that one. And then we're gonna score on this one at 6 and 6 1/4. And yes, some of our inside pages are 6 instead of 6 1/4 wide, because 6 1/4 matches up with the 8 1/4, giving us about an 1/8 of an inch around the pieces of paper. But so everything fits in nicely, for some of the inner pages, we've got to decrease down to a 6. So that's why we were scored the last 2 pages at 6 instead of 6 1/4. All right, we're done with our scoring. So now we are going to fold and crease all of our score lines. So I'm gonna fold that over and grab my bone folder and crease that and that, and just try and make sure your pages are folded straight. So got that. Now for our 1/8 of an inch fold, I am gonna grab a ruler to help me along with my folds, because the first fold's fine. Actually, it's being finicky. So I'm gonna set my ruler down at my score line and use it to help me get the folds straight for my folds on this guy. There's my first fold, and then I'm going to shift it over and use it to help fold up. And I'm going to run the bone folder along the back to help get that fold started. And then we'll fold over. Yeah, the 1/8 of an inch is, especially with the heavy cardstock, a bit of a fiddly fold, but I wanted to give a little bit of room in this last page. So that's why I put it in. All right, now let's start our assembly. So we're gonna take our 2 ones with the 1/2 inch fold, and we are going to attach them together like so. But for this one, I want to put a thumb notch in to create a pocket over here. Just double checking. Nope, I left it like that. Okay. But I'm going to take a second and pick out the paper that's going to go here, because it'll be easier for me to thumb notch both this layer and this at the same time, and then we can do the attaching. Okay, so I'll be back. I'm going to take a minute, make my paper decisions real quick, and we'll come back and get on with the assembly. All right, so I've gone ahead and made some decisions. This is going to be our cover, and we're going to definitely decorate this one. And then I picked that for inside the cover. I've got, this is flip 1, and then it So we've got flip 3 and 4 because it flips out. The numbers don't matter that much. Flip 2, this is going to be our pocket. And then I've got the pages picked out for the waterfall base, which I picked something fairly plain since it's going to have the waterfall pieces on it. And then I did pick our pieces for doing the waterfall as well, and a back cover piece. But now that I've made all these selections, we can trim this one down and attach it as we go to the pocket. That's really the only one I want to attach as we're assembling because it's a pocket and it just makes life easier to do that. So let's pull everything out of the way for now. So we're left with what we're doing. All right, I'm gonna grab my paper trimmer. So I'm gonna cut this so that the bigger piece for covering the pocket is 4 1/4. So let's do that. Then I am going to grab my pocket piece, line this up where it's supposed to go. That is not the correct measurement. Why is that measurement so far off? It's supposed to be 4 inches, not 4 1/4, because the whole pocket's 4 1/4. Have no fear, it can be fixed. It can and it will be fixed. All right. We're gonna trim this down to 4 now. Definitely the measure twice, cut once should have been employed here. We're gonna save the strip we cut off because we're just gonna piece it on. You shall see what we're gonna do in a moment. So now this should fit on here correctly. And it does. We're gonna scoot it all the way over to the end, lining it up equidistance top and bottom as best we can. I'm gonna grab a paper clip. Actually, I'm gonna grab 2 paper clips, and I'm gonna paper clip it up here and down here. I'm also gonna mark the middle because it bugs me when I'm like way off of center, because it just does. So, and eyeballing it, if you've watched my videos before, never works well for me. Now I'm gonna grab a circle punch. Actually, I think I'm gonna go 1 3/4. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna line the center up, center-ish on the punch. Go in about yay much. And punch. Oof. This punch does not like the thickness of all of that. Okay, got through it. Now, save the decorative piece because we're gonna put that back in. So let's erase the little pencil mark on there. Pull this off, pull this off. I'm gonna go ahead and glue this on to this piece. There we go. So we've got the black around the edge like we have everywhere else. It's not 100% perfect, but it's close enough. So let's go ahead and attach this down, and we're just gonna glue top and bottom of the page with the pocket on it to create the pocket there. So let's go ahead and do that. Oh, and along the bottom too. All right, so that's on, and then this piece will go on here, and I'll use the pocket to line up it height-wise. We're also gonna put this on, although I had a thought. So we can either do it like so, or another option would be to flip it, stick it over here, and have it serve as an accent. Let's see which we like better. And then this piece will go right there. I actually kind of like having the green stripe on the edge there. I think this is turned into a happy accident. We're gonna do that. All right, so I'm gonna glue this one down first. And I'm gonna butt it up against the edge of the pocket and line it up top and bottom with the decorative paper so it looks like it's all continuous. Then we're gonna add our green strip. Now you just need to make sure you stay over the score line, and I need to move this over a little bit more. And it's not, okay. It'll come up. Let's pull this one up before it's totally stuck. And it's no big deal because that's all gonna get covered. This needs to scooch a little bit further over. We're gonna do that again. Probably should pull out my Barely Art glue and use that instead. So I'm just gonna sliver it under just a skosh, just so that I don't have the problem with that extra piece running up against my score mark, because we want to be able to fold this over easily, so we don't want our decorative paper crossing that score line, and the green piece was a hair over at the top. Yeah, there's one problem with using black paper for this. The score marks are a little harder to see. All right, I've got a little paper scrap on there, and so I'm just gonna grab a pen and go like that. And now it's gone. Voila. And then we're also going to attach this piece, and that's going to go under. So let's, come on out. There we go. We're going to add glue to it. Lift that up. Place it down like so. And there we go, we've got a pocket. All right, let's continue assembling our folio here. So next piece is the piece with the 1/4 inch spine, and it gets attached here. Now I didn't on the first one, but I'm thinking maybe I want to on this one. You can also do a pocket on the back over here. Let me just double check where that's gonna hit once we assemble everything. That goes like that. One goes on. So, is that correct? So the pocket would be here. Let me just pull over. It's always bad when I decide to start rethinking things on the fly. Yeah, that's there. And now I remember why I didn't, because it's the back piece for where the waterfall goes, and so I thought that might be just asking it to do a little too much work. So we are not reconsidering. We are just going to glue this piece to that piece. So ignore all of that. But if you wanted to skip doing the waterfall piece on here, you could turn this into a pocket that would end up being on that first page you see when you open this up. So that is an option. But like I said, because I'm doing the little waterfall flippy thing on this side of it, I did not want to add that extra bit to it. After all, we are making this out of cardstock. It's just paper. There's only so much paper can do. So there we go, that's that. And then for this one, I just wanna double check that this is the correct orientation. Yes. Now, we do have the option of creating a pocket either here or on this side. But again, this side's got the waterfalls going here, so I wouldn't want a pocket there. We could do a pocket here, but I think I'm gonna pass on doing that. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna hold this in place here because this is a little fiddly because we're not going to the end anywhere with this piece. So here, let me grab a sheet of white so that you can perhaps see better how this lays out. So this is going out here. So this piece ends there, and then it comes up to here on here. So it's a little fiddly getting this attached. And what I want to make sure I do when I do the attaching is that I pull this up like so and glue so that this binds straight, if that makes any sense at all. Now this is the fiddly part on this one. So I am gonna just put a little pencil mark here and here so I know where I need to apply my glue to. Then I can flip this over, apply my glue, close that, and attach like so. And that fits in nicely and we're all set. So let's just make sure we press this down good. So that folds over like that, that goes like that, and we're all nice and squared up inside. Yay! All right, now comes the prettying part of this. So now we're just gonna go through and add our pieces of paper, and this is gonna be the cover. And what I'm gonna do first is add the ones that don't need to be cut, and then we're gonna do some cutting. So this one does not need to be cut, so it's just gonna go straight on. And I'll hold off on doing the back page because we need ribbon for our closure. Now, as an alternative to doing the ribbon closure, you could put a magnet here and another magnet here, and I recommend doing it before you attach your papers down. Cover them with the papers and have a magnetic closure so it just pops open like that. You could also use Velcro dots, but I kind of like the idea of using the crinkly ribbon for this one. All right. The inside one does not need to be covered, so let's find that page. So that one does not need to be trimmed down at all because these are the full 6 1/4 by 8 1/4. That one gets a full page. Now the rest, except for the back cover, which we can't add until we have our ribbon, get slightly smaller pieces, right? Okay, so we've got to cut 6 of the pages down to 5 3/4. So I'm gonna move some stuff out of the way and grab my paper trimmer. So I'm gonna just decide which side I want to take a 1/4 inch off of. All right, so what I'm doing here is figuring out where this one's going. It's going here. I'm gonna cut my sliver off on this side because we're gonna save our little slivery pieces to go in our 1/4 inch or in our 1/2 inch spine. So I'm gonna cut my 1/4 inch off this way. So I'm gonna trim it down to 3/4 of an inch. So yeah, that's why I'm taking an extra second to decide which side I want to do it on, because you're gonna wanna save your cutoffs. Because let me show you real quick why. And why you wanna take a second to decide which one you wanna cut off, because what we're gonna do is this one's going here. So I'm gonna glue this down on this page. Let's pull that out. So let's open that up all the way. Let's So we have space to glue it down. Yeah, I wasn't thinking about how well this would fit on screen when filming, when I came up with how I wanted to lay this out. Clearly. That's gonna go on here. And again, just make sure you're not crossing over your score lines, because that'll cause issues with folding. And then it's gonna go like that. And we're gonna put this piece that we cut off there to cover up all of that black. So there you go. That goes right there very nicely. All right, let's continue with our cutting. This would be a little weird, so we're definitely gonna cut the strip off of that side. And I'm gonna just go ahead and cut everybody right now, because most of these, it's not gonna be as big of a deal. That'll go there. So this one's going here. I'm gonna put that there. These don't matter which way I cut them. Go this way. Just because this has got the white area in the corner there, the distressed bit, and for use in covering our spines, I like the full color one better. All right, now for the waterfall pieces, so that they'll fit in nicely, they all need to get cut down to 5.5. So let's see where 5.5 gets us on this guy. Now I know this is oriented for landscape, not portrait, but we're just gonna put something over that decorative wise, because I like this piece for doing that split part of the waterfall. So we're gonna cut this at 5.5. All right, so this one I'm gonna take a look at and cut on this side, because you're gonna see this when it flips. So we cut off part of Santa. We cut off along the side of the door. I think that makes more sense, so we'll go that way. So yeah, if your flip up piece has images like this one does, you're gonna wanna pay attention to where you're cutting things off. And this one, again, let's pay attention to where we're cutting off. We've got that. I think it's gonna be better if we do it this way. And we need to do it at the right dimension. All right, now this one needs to get cut at 4 1/4. And that, all right, now for this one, because the patterning was primarily at the bottom and the top was very plain, I made this one the bigger piece. But you could easily flip this and have it go so that this piece goes on top and you have the little ephemera bit serving for a closure on the bottom. And I'm trying to decide, I think I want this to be the bigger piece this time too. So we are gonna cut that piece at 4 1/4. Put those two aside, and we need to cut, we're gonna cut this one down to 7 inches. And I don't know that it matters much. Well, actually, yeah, because I've got that on there. Okay, so we'll do this. We'll cut it off the top. Set that aside, set all that aside. We are done cutting. So, just as a recap, you're gonna pull out 13 decorative sheets from your paper pad if you're using 6 by 8. You need 6 that are 5 3/4 by 8, but you want to save the quarter you cut off for covering the spines on the folio. You're going to have 4 that you don't cut at all. There's 3 that get cut down to 5.5 wide. Of those 3, 1 you're leaving alone. 1 you are cutting into 2 pieces that are going to be used in the piece, one of which is 4 1/4, and then what's left, which would be 3 3/4. to go like this in your folio, and one you're cutting down to 7 inches. I will leave all of the measurements, the cuts, everything like that down in the description box below. All right, so now we just need to attach all of our decorative papers, and then we can do the waterfall bit. I decided this guy's gonna go here. This is our waterfall paper page, so that's just these. Whoops, I'm dropping stuff all over the place. Goes there. This is the one going opposite. And I keep going back and forth as to whether I want to keep that. And actually, I'm kind of liking it now. I'm kind of liking it. Okay, I'm digging it now. So now if you wanted, you could sliver off like 1/8 of an inch of paper from one of the extra strips that we're gonna have. We're only gonna have a couple extra strips, but there will be a couple extra strips. Why are we not folding? Because it doesn't fold that way. Like, why is it not folding nicely? Because I was folding it the wrong way. All right, that's cover. Like I said, you could do 1/8 of an inch strip here, and I may go back and do that. Oh yeah, I did end up putting a piece there. All right, we'll do that. All right, let's go over here. So goes there. I was like, this seems a little too matchy to go like that. All right, so everybody's covered except the back, which we have to hold off on. I need pieces for along those sides, so let's decide which ones we want to use. And I'm thinking of doing just a straight green there. I think because the green isn't the same green as here, I think I'm gonna go with the other side of this one. And then I'm gonna be super extra. So for some reason, I must have messed up the scoring on the one that I did originally, like the sample one, because the 1/4 inch spines on it were more than 1/4 inch, so the leftover strips fit. But this one I scored and folded correctly, so the 1/4 inch ones are too wide. So I'm just gonna cut one. It did not cut, it just scored it. So I think what I'm gonna do is just grab scissors and follow the line I just scored into it. I think it kind of cut because it's like coming apart like easily, so I think it was a partial cut. Normally I would have gone down it again, but because it was such a skinny cut, I was afraid it was gonna shift if I pulled the blade back down. All right, I managed it. So we're gonna go and add those here. And again, just make sure you're between your score lines so you don't have any problems folding. And it's all covered. Okay, so I picked out some stuff to decorate the cover. And these are, I bought the laser cut elements that go with this paper pad. And that's a scrap piece of paper. So I figured I'd do that and that. And then these are fussy cuts from the packaging that came with the laser cut elements. And I pulled out a stamp so that we can stamp Christmas greetings, since it will actually fit on here. And let's see, I'm gonna try stamping it without using my MISTI, because I figure it's not attached, so if I mess it up I can always just get another piece of paper. And I've got Distress Oxide, Rustic Wilderness, and I forget which Tim Holtz stamp set this is from. I'll leave it down in the description box below, although I may still have the stamp set out, so I may be able to just check behind me. So let's see how that's stamped. Oh, that's stamped pretty good. Feeling like I need to pull out the MISTI and do it in the MISTI so I can stamp twice so it's nice and crisp. I think that'll work better with this journal. No, let's see, hold on, let's pull it back and see how we like it in place. Yeah, I definitely feel like it needs to be crisper. All right, we're gonna restamp that. MISTI, scrap paper. Just gonna make sure I have it positioned where I can trim it down. And I won't have to worry about accidentally trimming it in a way that means it's not big enough to fit the frame, since I'm gonna stamp and then trim. So yeah, I've said it before, I'll say it again. You don't have to get a stamp positioning tool like a MISTI, because I know they are a bit pricey. But if you're going to be doing a lot of stamping and want to ensure you always get great results, a stamp positioning tool like a MISTI is a great tool to get. It's one worth saving your pennies for and picking up when you're able, because yeah, it's made my life so much easier having the MISTI versus my pre-MISTI stamping days. There'd be so many pieces pitched and restamped because I didn't get a good image. So I definitely love having my MISTI. All right, I'm gonna clean this off. And it came from the Poinsettia CMS 426. And I'm just giving it a little bit of time to dry. So let's work on the rest of the front and let that dry completely, because I don't want to go smudging it when I try and put it in place. Let's bring this back over. We can work on the pieces down here. I'm gonna grab just Vintage Photo and ink the edges, because there's definitely little bits of white showing, and since these are multicolored, I think it'll be easier to just do a little bit just around the edge. Just take away any white that I don't want to be showing. And I've dyed some seam binding red to go on as our closure, but it's not quite dry yet. So we're gonna have to wait a little bit yet before we put the closure and the back piece of cardstock on. That should be dry. And I am just going to put the frame around it and mark where I need to trim. And use my little mini guillotine. start by just putting glue on the frame and attaching our sentiment to it. I'm seeing some white sticking out, so we'll just trim that off. There we go. And now we can just glue that on right there. I feel like it needs something in the corner, and I have the rub-ons, so maybe before I attach that, I'll see if I've got, I think there's a holly berry that's small enough that will work there. I think I want that cluster right there. And then I think I'm going to do a single one in the corner down there because it feels out of balance now. All right, let's glue this down now. Okay, now it is time to do our waterfall section that's gonna go here. So let's start by pulling out our scoreboard. So we've already cut our pages. So this is our top one, and what I'm gonna do is a 1/2 inch for our fold over flap. And let me just, this side's not directional, this side is, this is the side going underneath. So I wanna make sure when it flips up, it's right side up, so. That's gonna go on and it'll flip up like that. And ooh, I'm gonna have the exact same thing. Well, it's too late now because I've already cut the pieces. Okay, now for this one, because of where the images are, I don't want to lose a 1/2 inch of the image, so we're gonna only do 1/4 inches on these. And then this one we'll do a 1/2 inch, and it folds, that's the front. If it's gonna fold up, we want it to go in like this, so we're gonna put our 1/2 inch here. All right, now let's score both sides just to help with the folding. Now that our scoring is done, this can go away, and we can come in and use our bone folder to reinforce all of those folds. Okay, so we're gonna start by gluing in our top piece because that's how we're going to line up everybody else. We're gonna use it as our guide. So let's glue it in place. Gonna line it up. It's probably about 1/4 inch down from the top. And I've got about 1/8 inch on either side. And I'm just gonna come in with my bone folder and just press that down real good. And see, this way, because we paid attention, they're right side up instead of upside down. Yeah, that piece is showing up a lot in this one. Oh well. Then our next piece is gonna be, we're gonna butt it up against the bottom of that piece. we're gonna put that in place. And we're gonna use our bone folder again to make sure it's nice and secure. Now for this piece, we want it hidden underneath, so we're gonna use the top piece to figure out where it's getting glued down. So we want it at the bottom here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a pencil and make a very faint mark here. I'm gonna erase the pencil I accidentally got on there and use that as my guide. You may not be able to see it on screen, but I can just see it. And then I'm gonna use the one that's already in place to align it to the right and the left. It's lined up with that one. And double check. Okay, I need to scooch up just a hair. There we go. And again, I'm gonna use my bone folder to press it down. I'm gonna bring my pencil in and erase my pencil mark. And then this one is gonna get lined up in here underneath like so. And so it fits in perfectly between the other two pieces. That closes like that, this closes like this goes like this, like so, and like so. So I need to wait for the seam binding to dry, and while it's drying, I am gonna pick out a piece from the laser cut element pack that will help as our closure on this piece, so that we can glue down here, and something to cover that up. And I may pick out a few more bits and bobs to decorate some of the pages that are in this journal. So I will be back. So I've got my seam binding all dyed with, I used Distress Lumberjack Plaid to dye this. And there were a couple pages that I thought were a little on the plain side that I wanted to do a little decorating, but otherwise I think I'm gonna leave most of the pages as is. I'll probably tuck into, we're gonna put a pocket on one of these pages, some bits and bobs that the recipient of this folio can use to decorate. But I did wanna do a little bit of decorating, just to jazz up a couple of the pages that were a little on the plainer side. So for this page, I've pulled out a couple of the laser cut elements, and I'm gonna grab my brown dauber and just ink along the edges, because there's a few spots where getting pulled out of the packaging left weird white spots on a couple spots on this thing. And I think these were ones that got fussy cut out. And I think for this one, I'll use my red dauber, which should have enough ink on it. So my thought was, we're gonna go like this, and then add the berries down there, because that's too much black. But we're not gonna glue this down completely. We're gonna leave a little bit of it unglued so that you can take a photo and tuck the photo in there, because I'm pretty sure that's a 4x6 photo is gonna fit on this page. Just need to make sure I push everything over far enough, because I do want to glue down this bit, because I think it's a little on the delicate side, and if I leave it sticking up, it's gonna get damaged or break off. So we're gonna do that. So let's start by gluing this piece down, because that's gonna get glued down completely. Position this tree over as far as it will go and still be on the page. And we're not gonna glue any of this area, so I'm gonna stick my finger there so I know not to glue there, but I am gonna glue down the little delicate tip there. to break up the black at the bottom there, figured let's add a little holly berry. So that you'll be able to tuck a photo in like so and have that on the page. Now, in the original one, I had a pocket on this page that I made from the ephemera, but since we've got Santa down here, I don't want to put a pocket on that page. So instead I thought, let's add a pocket to this page. And I pulled out, this is one of the ephemera bits. And it's that time of evening for the dogs to go insane. And I figured we'd glue it down on two sides as a pocket. I've also got the acetate pieces, so I figured I'd add that, but I thought I also wanted to do a rub-on, and I think I want to do this guy. Please ignore the dogs. That one going there, and maybe do another piece going that way, I think. I think I'm going to use essentially the same one, just pointing in a different direction. Add our acetate piece there. I want to do one more thing before I glue down the acetate piece. I'm going to grab this stamp from Correspondence, just CMS 225, and stamp it across the bottom. Let's go green. I've got Rustic Wilderness on my Distress Oxide on my desk, and why not? I'm gonna grab my Barely Art because it works a little bit better with the acetate pieces than art glitter glue. Just gonna focus mostly on the spots where there's color, so we don't have to worry. I mean, it should dry clear, but... And there's one more thing I'm gonna add, and that's a piece of my faux vintage tape. I think I'm gonna use the green, even though it's not exactly the Christmassy green I've been using, but I don't have any darker green, so we'll go with that. Stick it across like so. That works, I like that. And we're just gonna glue it down here like so. So we now have a pocket to stick stuff in. So there's one last thing to do, and that's to add our little closure for the waterfall piece here and to cover up our sideways kiddos. And I decided for this one, instead of doing a tuck like I did on the sample, I want to do a Velcro dot. So, and I picked up these guys on Amazon, and I'm gonna put it, let's see, I want the piece to go like that. So I'm gonna stick that there, and that like that. Yes. That's stuck down, that's stuck down. Now I need to glue it down. So let's add some glue to the bottom. Probably should have glued it on first. That would have made a whole lot more sense. Again, this is why I try not to craft and film on nights after work, because the synapses aren't always firing on all 4 cylinders. All right, for covering that up, I've got the the washi stamps from 49 and Market that went with this paper pack, I think. Yes, I did go a little overboard in buying the stuff. I always seem to do. 49 and Market just sucks you in. Everything coordinates so nicely, and it makes it a lot easier because then you don't have to think about stuff as much. So I think that one there, and that on like that. And now you don't notice that we have upside down people or that this is the same as this page up here. Last but not least, our back page and closure. So I've got my dyed seam binding. I'm gonna flip this over and just make sure I've got enough to tie. You know what? I think I may just use this whole piece. Like that. So we're just gonna snip that off there. Save that piece for another project. Flip her back over, and actually I think I'm gonna lower it a little so it's below the bells. Flip it over. Add a touch of glue behind our seam binding to help keep it in place. And then add glue to our back page. Just double checking to make sure I was putting it on right side up. And there we go. Our folio is finished. So let's do a quick flip through of the folio. So there's our closure. Nice little dyed seam binding. It opens like this, and those are the first two pages you see. I may stick something down there. Then this section opens, and we've got a pocket over here. And then this flips open. Oh wait, and this flips open like this. So you get two pages there, and then it flips open like so. And we've got our waterfall page over here that pops open and flips up. And that's what that looks like. And then this page flips up as well. So plenty of room for more decorating, photos, whatever you want to do with your folio. That flips down. And then we have our little tuck spot pocket over here for adding journaling cards or more photos. For this page, you can tuck a picture in behind like so and attach it to the page, and you've got a little bit of decorating going on. And then that's the back, which let's pop this open and do this correctly, and like so. So there you go. That's our finished folio, and that's all for today. So if you enjoyed this video, please do all the things that lets YouTube know you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave me a comment down below. Thanks for joining me, and happy crafting.